My name is Makayla Leone. Originally, I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Okay. So where is that, you're probably asking, right? Maybe? Well, if you're in the States and you're watching this, think of Grand Forks. I'm 2 hours driving distance from that. And yeah, I mean, that's where it's literally smack dab in the middle of Canada. What brought me to Las Vegas? Well, there's a long backstory for that takes quite some time to build up from that. But I actually moved from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. And I moved from Los Angeles about a year ago. And on one of the hottest days of Las Vegas, mind you, I think it was 118 that day, although right now we're almost at 116, so we're at that high temperature right now. There's many reasons why I moved to Las Vegas. I love the desert. I actually lived in Arizona for a while too, so there's something about the desert that draws me here. There's a lot of soul, there's a lot of spirit. Of course, there's a lot of entertainment, but there's just something really deep here in the desert, and I love Las Vegas. But being in the industry of entertainment for a majority of my life, and especially in the Hollywood realm, I just got really sick of it, and it just wasn't working out. And my husband and I decided that it was time for a change. And eventually we want to travel and live in other places throughout the world. And one of those things is to make sure that you live in a state that has kinder taxes. And well, I mean, Las Vegas, it's not that far from Los Angeles. We thought, well, let's go ahead and do this. And it's been the most amazing thing. It's so interesting because I was in Los Angeles moved in 2003, and then, for a long time, so 13 years. And it was almost as if I was on a treadmill, just running and running in this rat race and just never seeming to get anywhere. And the moment we made the decision to move and change it up, it's been one of the best decisions ever. The people here are great. It was so funny when we first moved here, because don't get me wrong, I love Los Angeles. Sorry, I'm hitting my mic. I love Los Angeles. There's a lot of great things about it. California is fantastic. And there's a lot of things where there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of people, it's just a lot of energy there. And majority, not all, but when you're in the industry, majority of people are in that space running towards fame and glory, trying to be something that they're truly not. So there's a deep energy that there's unhappiness, kind of recycled over and over. And when you're in that space long enough, it could really wear down at your soul. And when we moved here, it was really amazing because people are so nice. People want to help you and they don't want anything in return. We're like, what is this place? Is this a magical place that people just want to help you and just be nice? It was a really wonderful experience, and we still experience that today, and we're just really grateful. And I've met some amazing people. We actually see more of our friends in Los Angeles since moving to Las Vegas, which is bizarre. People come to Las Vegas to visit, so we just go and visit them because, for example, we lived in Santa Monica, right across from the ocean, which is great, but it's very touristy. It's very difficult traffic-wise. You have to plan your whole day around everything. And if someone lived about 20 minutes away, just regular 20 minutes away, it literally would take about 2 hours to get there. You'd have to plan your entire day. And here, 20 minutes is, guess what? 20 minutes. It's so great. So I mean, the little things that add up, the people, there's no traffic, better quality of life, you get more home for your money. It's overall been a fantastic move. So there was a lot of things that instigated the move, from wanting better quality of life, better space, obviously better taxes, and it's completely opened up a whole new box of opportunities, and so grateful for it. So we love Las Vegas. I deal with helping people create habits for a healthier lifestyle. And I do this by integrating healthy lifestyle choices. A lot of it's behavior. Pretty much the results that we have in our lives are dependent upon the habits that we create. Our bodies are a direct response from the actions that we have with our habits. Our finances, our relationships, our health, like everything is defined by our habits. Negative or positive, it doesn't matter. And a lot of times, especially in health, you know, there's a lot of people that can lose weight really fast, but then guess what? They don't know how to sustain that long term. That is integrating a healthy lifestyle. I mean, there's things like that. I mean, ultimately, that's majority of what I do is dealing with those behaviors, but making them permanent. When you have a habit and you practice it, it becomes a permanent thing. It's just the same as when you learn how to drive. I mean, everything was over the top and you were learning so many things at once and your brain was overloaded, but then eventually it became a habit so that you can drive. Same with walking, same with tying your shoes. It's a very simple thing, but it's very difficult to do because as humans, as we mature, we pick up a lot of stuff along our path and that can weigh us down. So I deal with a lot of things that are emotional because here's how it works. We have our main body, but it's made up of 4 parts. So we have our spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. So spiritual, that's when, you know, we get the spark. We get the idea that, wow, I want to go and do this. It's that moment where you really make that decision and you want to go with it. And you're like, yeah, I'm all focused and I'm motivated. And you're heading on down. And then that goes into the mental. And then you're pumping yourself up and like, yeah, I have the mindset. I'm ready to go for this. I'm training my mind. But here's what's interesting is that so we get the spark, then we get the mental, and then there's one more element before we can bring any goal into reality, and that's our emotional realm. That makes up a huge part of who we are, yet not too many people know how to deal with that. Yeah. Everything that we do is emotion. We eat with emotion, we buy with emotion, every decision we make is through emotion. We're humans, that's just the nature of what we are. And if you get stuck in that emotional realm, people can't manifest their goals and they get stuck. So if they're not losing the weight, if they're not attracting the partner they want, it's stuck in that emotional space. And I like to work a lot in that space. I'm constantly working on myself as my own practice because it's a lifelong thing. Dealing with emotions is something that is a beautiful thing when you learn how to do it, because emotions can be compasses to guide you if you know how to use it correctly. But most of the time, what do? In the Western world, we stuff them, we want to medicate them because we are never taught how to deal with emotions. I used to suffer from an eating disorder. I know this because I used to do this myself. It's not too many people, because happy emotions, they're great. I mean, everyone wants to feel them. They're like, yeah, this is awesome, and you run with them. There's not too many happy moments or positive emotions that you don't want to not express. It's just a natural thing because they feel good. But now negative emotions, they don't feel as great. Okay, they just don't. You know, when you're angry or you're sad or you're frustrated, sometimes if you don't know how to release it, what do? You take it into your body. You lash out, it builds up. And when you're able to work with emotions in a positive and constructive way, you can use them as a tool. You can use them as a tool for when you're craving certain things. Certain foods have different textures, have different feelings that, like for example, crunchy stuff, that's a lot of times when you're frustrated and you have tension built up. Why not address that? It's okay to release it, but if that's something you're going to over and over again and it's causing a problem, that may be something to address. And something like breads, comfort, sweets, like a big hug. Dairy is very antidepressant. these things that we run to instead of facing some of the things that once we face it and pass that threshold, then we can emerge into something new, because that's ultimately what's keeping us from getting our goals. It's that emotional space that, I just got to pass through that, and then I can get to that physical space. So a lot of my work deals with the deeper parts of working with that emotion. Of course, I deal with certain things that are just simple, like simple things of creating simple habits that don't deal with anything of an attachment. Those are just things like buying certain foods or refraining from certain things. But if there's a block, then we work through that, because the only way you're going to work through it is if you address it and face it. It's kind of like facing your whole demons kind of thing. Once you shine light upon it, then you can actually see what you're dealing with. But more often than not, the things that we're dealing with in our head is bigger than what it truly is. And that goes for many aspects of our life, not just the health aspect, but everything that you do affects your body. And I've been in the alternative medicine field for a long time as well. I was a massage therapist for about 14 years, so I'm very well versed in the body and healing. I've also healed myself from some interesting things, where there was a part of my life where my first marriage, it was toxic. And I have a lot of great stories because I've learned from them and I've healed from it. A lot of emotional craziness. Craziness, and I own it because I didn't know how to deal with it. I had a lot of emotional outbursts, and we were just, I like to describe it like a HBO drama, because he was a womanizing alcoholic athlete and I was the bulimic model with low self-esteem. And our fights were just epic and crazy, and I'm just, man, I look back to those days, I don't even know who that person was, but it's okay because I've learned from it. And I also can relate to people who deal with strong emotions, especially when you're dealing with something. A lot of times we have feelings of anger when a boundary is crossed. And if you don't have the voice, like I didn't know how to stand up for myself. Boundaries was a big thing for me, which is another thing I teach people. But I didn't know how to use my voice. So all I knew how to do was have rage. And unless you're taught how to do these things properly, you can self-destruct. And it's part of the things what I'm really passionate about. Yeah, my vehicle is beauty, wellness, health, fitness. But ultimately, when you can have more control over these different aspects of your life, it can keep you more aligned and on your path, so that when those obstacles do come up, you have the tools to actually work through them, instead of doing behaviors where you become self-destructive or you run to other things. I mean, as humans, we're very complex. We just are. I mean, we're simple, but we're complex too. It just takes patience and a willingness to be open and learn about yourself. Because as you do, you're able to create a life and experience that you truly love. And when you can integrate all these parts and recognize, oh, okay, well, I understand why I did this or why this happened, but I'm not going to linger on that specifically, because sometimes we can hang on to stuff from the past and be drawn back from that. But if you have a greater understanding and forgiveness of yourself and others as you keep going forward, you're going to get your goals a lot quicker. And as I said before, you're going to have a better life experience. Truly. I know that was a long answer. However, I have a little bit more. I've been in the entertainment world for 25 years. I'll be 42 next month. And I started when I was 15. So there's years of, I've had modeling experience. I've traveled the world as a performer. I've had a great life when it comes to learning to face a lot of things that I'm uncomfortable about. And I love to teach people about self-acceptance. and embracing your body and embracing who you are. Of course, there's always ways to get to the next level, but I've also come to realize that it's important to start with what you have inside, because you can be reaching for things to a certain degree, but then it'll never be good enough. And that's one of the things that I used to suffer from, was not feeling good enough since I was 5 years old. Like there's a whole story behind that. But ultimately, I think we all deal with that in some way or form, is not feeling good enough. And at the same time, recognizing that you're not alone in that battle, that we all have moments where we doubt ourselves, that we fall. Knowing that you can have a great support system as you create the life that you want. But what I bring in from the entertainment world is obviously things where when you look good, you feel better. I mean, there's certain things that, I teach from a modeling perspective I'm very anti-aging. That's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. And I bring that element, that the beauty aspect. But it's also the deeper things that truly resonate from your heart and from your soul and from your core. Because yes, you can put on a shade of lipstick, you can have the right skincare, you can do the right things, wear the right things, but ultimately you're the one that's going to be looking at your face in the mirror every morning and every night. And when you're okay with that, something heavy falls from you, and it ultimately gives you what I call an authentic confidence, or an authentically true beauty. And that's pretty much the core of what it is that I want people to feel and to experience when they work with me. Pretty much to be your own Hollywood, because I'm anti-Hollywood. Of course, I was in that world for a long time. There's a lot of a facade, and it broke my heart being in that world for a while, which is why I walked away from it. Are there aspects that are great? Sure, I had a lot of celebrity clients. I had a lot of amazing people in my world. But then there's a dark side. There's a dark and light to everything. Everything in this world exists in dichotomies. You can't have light without dark, masculine without feminine. It's the same. Every business will have some element like that. But there was one person I dated that was high profile, and I was in the paparazzi. It was just this whole whirlwind thing. But I got to see things really close up, and it was not something that I was willing to give myself up for. Because for so long I was wearing a mask, and there's nothing more liberating in your life is to take that mask off. Because one of the saddest things I've discovered, especially working with celebrity clients and just people who are really high up there, is that if you lose who you are, then that's one of the most painful things, because you don't know who you are anymore. But when you can take that journey to your true authentic self and discover your own Hollywood, discover your own star, discover your own greatness, then there is freedom in that. And that's ultimately what gives me the most joy. Even if it's for a moment, of course, I've worked with clients where it's changed their life and they've gone to have massive success. And then there's people that just need a little hint to see a little bit of the magnificence that they have. And when they experience that is something that really sings to my soul. And I know that's part of what my purpose in life is supposed to be. How did I learn to overcome my negative habits and negative emotions? Well, that's something I still work on. I'm human. But a lot of the things when it comes to that is having strategies. As I mentioned before with habits, strategies are ways that we gear our results. We have strategies for everything. Just think about this for a minute. When you brush your teeth, you probably use the same hand every time. When you put on your socks, when you put on your pant legs, you found a way that it works and you've taken that strategy. So your mind goes, aha, this works. This works. Your mind likes to keep things simple. So when it comes to things like confronting negative emotions or negative habits, the first thing is to become aware of it and want to change. Because you can become aware of it and know that, I know that habit's bad, but I don't really, who cares? I'll live my life the way I want it, and who cares about the consequences? There are people that are like that, and you know what, that's fine, that's their path. But what I've come to do for myself is sometimes, well, especially with negative emotions, I've learned to sit with them. I do exactly what I tell my clients to do, because I'm not going to do something, or tell my clients to do something that I'm not going to do, because then they're not going to get the results, because I'm doing it. It's this whole energetic thing, but I have to be doing what I'm telling people to do. And there's a couple different things depending on the emotion. So I'm very calm for the most part. I'm Canadian. I'm naturally friendly. It's just like Hawaiians, you know? It's just a natural thing that you're just, hey, happy-go-lucky. But I'm also very intense. I have, in the past, had such explosive, damaging property temper that I know that dragon. And that dragon's useful in certain circumstances. So when I experience something of a intense type of emotion, I actually had one the other day at the spa, at the spa of all places. So it depends. So say for example, okay, what I did the other day, just to show you what happens is, if I'm in a safe space that is away from harm, myself and others, I will go and do something like punch a pillow, scream into a pillow, because sometimes that's all you need. Because if you bottle it up, it gets worse. And what happens? Your body gets tense. Your body is fantastic at tensing up, but it doesn't know how to relax. So if you have to teach it how, that's why you stretch and, you know, do meditation and things like that. But that builds up. So if you've been doing that for a long period of time, your body's carrying all of that. So what I do is I do something like that. Or I'll go, I'm very physical. So if I can get it out physically, I'll do it. But not to another person, or, I mean, that's obviously common sense. But if you get it out of you, you take off the charge. Because a lot of times you're just so riled up. And the thing is, with a negative emotion, okay, think of it like this. So with happy emotions, right, say something really funny happens and you're falling down laughing to the point that you're crying. So it's on this wave. So you're laughing, and you're like crying with tears. And then eventually it's like, oh, I'm exhausted. It's this wave. And with negative emotions, what happens with people, most people, is they're on this wave and they're like, "Arr," and say it's anger, which is a big one, it's stuck. See, all you have to do is get past that wave, like, and then you wait, and then the charge drops. And if you can go there and just let it out, because all emotions are energy pockets. And if you can let it out, then it's like, wow, okay, I think I can be more calm now. I don't have to go yelling at someone, go say something I don't want to say, or I'll regret later, you know, things that can be destructive. Because negative emotions aren't bad. It's the buildup of them and not using them correctly that's very harmful for you. So that's one of the things I do. And what I did the other day, I went to the spa I needed just some time to just be quiet, and I like quiet. And it was this quiet, or this small little spa, and I worked in a spa for 14 years. I'm very into spa etiquette. There's spa voices. There's just things that are common courtesy when you visit a spa, as you would do a golf course. There's certain things that have proper etiquette. And just the way that this place was built, when people were in the jacuzzi, it was like an echo chamber, like around the entire spa, so you couldn't escape the sound. And all I wanted was quiet. So I went upstairs and I'm like, I just asked nicely. I'm like, I know they're having fun, but would you mind having them do spa voices? And she's like, oh, I totally understand. So that took care of that. But then it was really hot the other day, and people were just having a wave of people coming from the pool area heading to the spa, probably obviously not aware of spa etiquette. And it just was even worse. Like, I got rid of the first problem, but it just built up, and I was just, oh my gosh, I'm coming to the spa to relax, and I can't escape noise anywhere. Like, no place was quiet. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I went into the steam room. I was the only one in there. And I'm like, all right. So I'm just yelling what's coming. No one could hear me because they're all yelling anyway. So I'm like, well, I'm going to use this as an opportunity because I'm stressed out at the spa. This is not good. I'm not going to go and yell at someone because I know they don't know what they're doing isn't proper etiquette. That's not my job. So I just screamed as loud as I could in the steam room because it was an opportunity. I was in a safe space and I allowed it out. And then after that, my charge went down. So, there's things like that where another great one, which I know if I don't do this often, I have a buildup because we have so many thoughts. Like I said, I am one of the most loving, kindest, forgiving people that you'll meet, but I still have some crazy things that run through my mind that you have to clean it, just like you clean your house, just like you keep everything else in your world clean, you got to clean your mind. So I do this other exercise called clearing your head trash, where basically you take a piece of paper. It's best to do it in the morning when you awake, and you'll know when you need to do it because you feel tense, or something's happening with another person that you really want to say something, but you don't know how to say it. And if you say something, you might cross a line, but you need to get rid of it. So you're kind of in this, what do I do? What do I do? I feel alone, but I'm angry. What do I do? So just take a piece of paper, and it's important you write this out, not on the computer. And you just write out everything that comes out of your mouth, or out of your mind. Everything. I don't care if it's something that you would never say to someone, where it could be so vile. It doesn't matter because that's still in you. You don't want that in you. Because remember what I said about negative emotions and just even negative thoughts, that your body absorbs that. And you want that out of your existence. So if that's coming up, just write it out, write out everything that you've ever wanted to say, and the thing is to never judge yourself what comes out. Because right now you're cleaning. And just let it out, and you can make a whole ritual from it. I've had clients, I'm like, if you can, safely, if you have a bonfire, go burn it. Because that's, fire is a very transformational kind of element. Think of the phoenix rising from the ashes. But you want to get rid of it, so shred it. The last thing you do is look at what you wrote, because what are you doing? You're just regurgitating what you just put out. And that's a very helpful thing too. And sometimes it's just a matter of, man, I feel sad. Oh, well, why don't I just go in the corner and cry? I used to hide crying all the time, and why? In our world, we're just taught not to feel emotions. But I'm telling you, once you learn how to feel them, it sets your world free. And it makes you look younger, it makes you feel younger, and it makes your body more healthier. Because there's certain emotions that get trapped in your body. And if you don't address them, they will cause harm for you in your later years. Right now, the service that I provide people, I'm actually redesigning it right now. I'm currently going through a beta test of my online training, which is the Hollywood Beauty System. For those interested, there's a link. There's an application form if you want to be part of the beta test, which will be a lower fee than what I'll be selling the online training for. And just putting that training together. Because I want to create a community of support and also a system where people can be self-guided. Because I have years of my knowledge and the wisdom that I've gathered throughout my years, and I've tried to figure out how to put it together. And I've combined information from my first best-selling book, which is How to Be Hollywood Beautiful Without the Hollywood Price, and my second book, which is Unlock Your Genius, the 7 Keys to Create Your Ideal Life. I've combined elements of those both, obviously leading with beauty and fitness and things like that, but starting the foundation course of what is possible when it comes to creating a life that you love by creating healthy habits. And so that's in the works right now. One-on-one clients, what I used to do was something called a VIP day. This is my high-end service where I'm kind of like the exorcist, where we sit down and we go through this, I wouldn't say an exorcist, but more, here we go, like an intervention where it may take anywhere from 5 to 8 hours or more, but literally within that time, through science and specific questions that are designed to cut through to the heart of what the problem is, I can get to the reason why someone's horrible at relationships, why they suffer in business, why they're sabotaging their health. I can get to that one moment in time where they made that decision. And it's usually between 0 and 7 years old. That's called our imprinting phase. Pretty much everything who we are as adults was designed from 0 to 7. And through this process, it's kind of like you have this beautiful garden and you want this beautiful garden to grow really wonderfully and vibrantly, but you keep getting these weeds that just keep killing your garden over and over again. And you pick out the weeds, you cut them down, but they keep coming back. And what this process is, it's like getting that one weed, but the root cause, so that never comes back again. So that one's more of an intense one, that it's a big application process for that, because that's intense for us both. Like, that takes a lot out of me. At the same time, it's rewarding when it's this dynamic of change and transformation when you see that in people. Like, some of the transformations I've seen from that process have been pretty profound. So there is that. But since I want to become more, I want to spread my message further, that's why I'm going more for an online training base. And then I'll be creating a community. Then I'll be doing more things like live workshops here and there, and speaking here and there. I'm not a motivational speaker, I'm a transformational speaker. I'm a transformational speaker where, in case you haven't realized, I'm all about transformation and change. Getting to the next best version of yourself. And it's a lifelong thing. It's not just, okay, you're done. No, then it's like, okay, great, here's the next level, and the next level. So right now I'm developing the system. I've been working on it for a couple of months. It's been my project for a while there, and we're getting ready to launch in the next 2 weeks. And creating this community and this online coaching program. So it's very exciting, because for a while there I just couldn't figure out how to help people in a bigger perspective, like in a bigger sense, and without having to do like the one-on-one. Of course there's the one-on-one when it's a mutually beneficial thing, but sometimes you have to take a step back. It's because when you set a goal, like sometimes, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, when you set a goal, it just seems so far off. And you have this big vision, but the gap, you just have no idea how you're going to get there. And one of the things I like to say is, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Like, I have a big vision of what my community, what my movement is going to be. And I think part of my own personal journey is being ready for it. because it's scary, it's exhilarating, it's all those things at once. But when you put yourself out there, it can be a very challenging thing. But at the same time, I know that what I do provides a lot of value and life change. So it's just been this process of developing it in a way that can touch a lot of people, transform a lot of people's lives so that they can have the lasting change and create the healthy habits. But not only that, that will spill into other areas where they can have better relationships, better finances, better career choices. Because when you understand that you're not, okay, we're not broken. A lot of people sometimes think that they're broken. And, you know, our media kind of projects that we're broken. But ultimately, you're just complex and you have a lot of parts. It's almost like, you know, Humpty Dumpty fell and, sat on a wall and he had a great fall and all the horses and men couldn't put him back together again. But what if you could? What if you weren't broken, but you just had different parts that needed to be integrated? Because as children, when we're babies, we're born perfect. We have no negative emotions. We don't have any value. We're just this clean slate. And through life, through experience, through family, through school, there's all these different things that are projected upon us that you start to pick up different things. Some things are helpful. Some things can derail you. And you put certain people that have had the exact same upbringing, horrible upbringing, but one's successful and one's derailed. What's the difference? It's what's going on in here. They haven't been fully integrated. Their emotions are off whack. Their values are guiding them in this certain direction. So for me, I don't look at people as broken. Do I think people would benefit with different behaviors for certain things? Absolutely. If it's not giving them the result that they want, I think maybe a behavior adjustment would be a good thing, a good habit readjustment, getting a different strategy. For example, there's a simple example of another strategy is a buying strategy. Some people, like me, when I buy, there's certain things I know that my strategy is I look at what I'm looking for, then I look at the price, and then I make sure it has the qualifications of what I want. But then there's some people whose strategy, they don't have that qualification of, well, it needs to have this and this. They just they buy, see, buy, see, buy. That's not a good strategy if you're in debt. Same with food. Oh, I feel I want a hamburger now. I want cake now. See, eat. There's something missing in your strategy that says, wait a minute, am I really hungry? Do I need some water? There's certain things that you can add to your strategy to create new behaviors, because as I mentioned prior about learning how to drive, tying your shoe, those are simple habits that become permanent. And it's the same thing with any type of habit. Sure, some are a little bit difficult because you have emotions attached to it, and it's possible. So I know I totally got off topic there, but the thing is, when you can create a system to help people feel confident knowing that they can actually do it, then they can go off and create the great goals that they want for their life. And also explaining to them what happens along the way. Because when I went on my first bout of personal journey, my whole personal development journey, it's when I walked away from the entertainment world and I was in a relationship where I just said, what the heck is that? Because I know that this is me. Like, this is me right now. And if I don't change what I'm doing, this is going to be my life. And this is not what I want. So I had to take a deep look at myself, and I pretty much disappeared for a couple of years and went deep learning of, why I did certain things. What are my habits here? And diving deep into that. And I also discovered ways to shortcut some of those painful years. Some people, it's good to go through that, but what's our most valuable asset? It's time. We can never get that back. And my second book, it condenses a couple years learning into 7 steps, because I want people to have the opportunity to shortcut a couple things that took me quite some time to get. And be like, okay, let's understand this part, so now we can go to the next part. Instead of, because for example, affirmations, they're great, but if you're on the inside, or you're saying, I'm a happy person, but you're not a happy person, and you haven't dealt with that stuff, you're lying to yourself and your unconscious mind. Okay, so quick little lesson here, because I'm also a hypnotherapist, and I deal with, well, behavior, mind, all that good stuff. And you have the 2 minds. You have your unconscious mind and your conscious mind. Your conscious mind, that's only 5 to 10% of who we are. That's you and me. We're having conversation right now. We're listening to each other. We're present. But the other 90 to 95% of you is unconscious. Just think about that. 90 to 95% of you. That's the part of you that breathes you, keeps you alive when you're sleeping. It's in charge of your learning, behavior, and change. Learning, behavior, and change is in your unconscious. Your emotions are in your unconscious. So everything about you is unconscious. And the more that you can develop that relationship, you'll understand that, wait a minute, if I write this affirmation and I don't believe it, how can I write it in a way that I will believe it? Instead of trying to force it, because then you're just trying to force yourself into submission with like a bat. Like, that's not gonna, I'm a happy person, you're beating yourself up. It's like you're defeating the purpose. There's ways that you can readjust affirmations or readjust your goals that fit what's feeling inside, so that you don't feel like a liar to yourself, because your unconscious mind will know when you're lying to yourself. And the more that you can develop that relationship, which is what I talk about a lot, the better you're going to be in alignment with so many things. So if anyone would like to get in touch with me, learn about more of my services, you can go to my website, which is www.makaylaleone.com. So it's MAKAYLALEONE.com. And as I mentioned prior, we're doing beta testing right now for my online training, which is the Hollywood Beauty System. We're looking for a few beta testers, about 10, before we launch the big product. And this beta test will be considerably discounted. So it'll be 50% off the retail price, which we're still working that right now, but it'll be a discounted price. And we're looking for about 10 people. And that address is my website, so it's MakaylaLeone.com again, /beta test. And all it is an application form looking at having you answer a couple questions and see if you would be a good fit. Because ultimately I want to make sure that you're a good fit and we're a good fit, because I want to be able to get you the results that you're seeking along with what it is that I teach. And with the Hollywood Beauty System, that one, it begins a lot with beauty, of course, the beauty system. So we talk about anti-aging. I share all the things that I've done to be youthful. As I mentioned, I'm 42, or I will be 42 next month. And, I don't do Botox. There's things that I've done to be youthful without surgery that I share that. And it's different products, different things like that. And pretty much my tips for that. And then I talk about things like we just talked about with emotions, setting boundaries, introducing you to the ways that you can fully transform your life, not only from the outside, but from the inside out. Because that's ultimately where you're going to solidify change and create the body that you want, the health that you want, the relationships that you want, the businesses that you want. Because when you're aligned, you will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you're solid. So yeah, that's how you get in touch with me. And I also have my 2 best-selling books, which you can see on my website as well. They're also on Amazon.